Okay, we're at Phnom Bakheng, which is just south of Wat Tom, which I visited the first day, and then I walked right down that street from the center, right past this site, to Angkor Wat that I've just come from again now. I walked past this the first time because I was intent on getting to Angkor Wat. But what intrigued me as I walked by was the possibility that this temple complex was built on top of the hill, which appears to be the case. So now we'll do this. Bought a baguette from this fellow here, and what he did was stick it on his little stove right there and heat it up for me. Hakun. So from this point, no surprise, this would be the entrance. There were other steps here that are missing now, but we can see this one had a design element to it. And this rough basalt pumice, I'll call it, forming the understone for the finished stone that would have been here. There's some more of this, what would have been part of that stairway. Now this looks like it's the remains of a lion that was protected here a bit. Now underneath this tree is how you got on the lion, how you got on the elephant. The elephant walks in between that platform and that rail, and you step into the carrying gizmo on top, and then for 20 bucks he carries you to the top, which I'm sure he's quite capable of doing. Again, this would have been the impressive lions. Now what's important here is to recognize that this all would have been beautifully finished steps, probably other figurines on it, maybe even nagas to the side. Would have been meant to be quite impressive. Should have been something up at the top that we would have seen from down here that would add to the grandeur, whatever that was, maybe more lions. This is the elephant trail. I'm not sure whether it's going up or the coming down trail. Now here's another entranceway. You can see a little bit more of a definition of its stairs. Let me turn around, look up. Okay, here we can see clearly the definition of the uphill. Probably one set of stairs on all four cardinal points. This is the generally north entrance, so this would have had stairs all the way down. Much longer slope because we're up higher, almost near the top, but we have to continue on the elephant trail. I just noticed that this paving, if you will, on this road is probably cement that came in these bags, was dumped here before the rainy season, walked down by the elephant, stomped down, and then the rain compacted it all, or the elephants compacted it all, and then the rain solidified it. Okay, we should be at the southwest corner. I think that's the back if the first part we looked at, in fact, originally was the front. And you wouldn't really know that unless you went up and could look underneath that green tarp to see what was the configuration at the top. We'll go down here and attempt to go in the back. Now the significance of this ruin is that it was built as the last of the ruins of the construction at Rulos, where we had visited 3 temples earlier, and if there's a DVD, this will follow that in logical sequence. Comparing this rather simple and small configuration of a wall. Here we're at the back of the temple, but my guess is that the entire temple complex is duplicated on all 4 quadrants. But these would have been 2 side temples, of course. And this before some kind of animal, perhaps an elephant or a bull or even a cow. You can take a guess. And this design, even though this is I think a remodel or restore, that general configuration is familiar. And as one might expect, they logically took advantage of the fact that this was a mountain, so that they have hewn away the mountain for the bottom terrace, if you will, level, and then built in front of it. Makes good sense. Here we had lions probably on each of these pedestals climbing to the top, which we'll do now. And then again these side temples reflecting the sub peaks of around Mount Meru of the imaginary religious universe. Now it's not sophisticated, but here's a plumb bob installed, and on the back of this lion is a dot where presumably it used to be centered. It looks like it's slightly off-centered to the right and away from us a bit. One thing we can tell from just looking at this temple on the first terrace is that the whole thing is giving way to the right, which means that the level is dropping away from the temple. I'm going to pan around. I'm on the fifth of 6 terraces. Notice in front of us a linga symbol for the linga cult. These little temple buildings in reasonably decent repair, although all of their detail has fallen off or weathered away. But they could be perhaps stabilized. These stairs are extremely steep and narrow. The yellow balloon is over near Angkor Wat, actually near the parking area before you enter the causeway. And now I'll just sweep back so we can get a little view. If I understand correctly, Siem Reap is right straight ahead of the camera now, which puts it about north from here. Now just panning around so we have a view. We're looking a little bit northwest right now. I'm not sure what that complex over there is. It looks like a small town. Siem Reap should be behind us and to the right, to the southeast. Here is the close-up of the linga. Okay, I'm on the 6th level, and you can see that there in that corner is the remains of a small temple that held a linga icon, and here swinging to this corner is still another, but without the temple. So I'm guessing that there were 4 at least temples reflecting sub-peaks, and I'm guessing that each of these peaks also held the linga symbol inside of them. This is a work site, so we can't enter very far, but still some detail remaining, some which may even be restorable. There aren't very many tourists here, although it's on the main route from Wat Tom and Angkor Wat. Again, some of the remaining elements are clear enough to allow future workmen, or the men who you hear talking in the background, recreate these perhaps in total. Here in this example of this same character, it looks like she may have a lotus blossom in her hand. Here it's even better detail, and some side column details. So we have linga temples at all 4 corners of that 6th terrace. Now I want to look at one of these next terrace down, the 5th, and these are probably duplicated on all terraces, to see if there's evidence of linga in there. Here on the west side, a nice display of the lions that would have topped each of those stairway columns. And here an even better display of the lions. And so this would have been what you would see looking back the way you came up, if we had been allowed to come up that first way. The causeway there, the top of the hill. My guess is that, and you can see remnants of it, outside that wall was probably at the top of the hill was something very visible. We can see off to the right some kind of evidence of a structure. And my guess is that if we could see back in time, we would see some impressive structures forming probably an entrance structure right at the top of the hill. Perhaps there were columns all the way down. Those 2 there that we see, there's a stub of one in front of it, several stubs behind. So this was probably a colonnade. Whether it was covered or not, don't know. This would have been an intimidating hike to the top, because these stairs are tall stairs, steep, and very narrow. Here we can see the designer and the architect's today's problem, the restoring archaeologist, and that is the tendency of this huge amount of weight to cantilever itself right over, although not all are. So it has something to do with how well those initial stones were initially placed in the ground, on the ground. But you can see by the look of the geology of this rock, which looks like rock that's been shattered and then had other rock from beneath that was molten extruded up into those cracks, that they built this part on this bedrock, which they probably had to level, except for where they put temples like that one. So now we're walking down what would have been a colonnade. Whether it was on some kind of a causeway, I don't know, but it looks like it was if you see off to the sides here, right and left. There would have been a sunken area. Whether that was filled with water, I doubt, being that this is on a hill. This looks like a sarcophagus. Don't think it was a well. And it's currently a shrine. Off to the left here we can see evidence of, and I think that may be a bedrock, but of 1, 2, 3, third one with columns, and then a fourth building. And notice I'm walking on bedrock that's been more or less leveled. Presumably it was cleaned up and then had a surface put on it of stone. Imagine the effort it took just to knock out each of these holes. There we can get the suggestion of a structural design. Okay, we're close to the edge now of the top of the stairway, and as I look at this you can see that here was a corner that was carved out, or left in place if you will, in the bedrock, and there is kind of like a causeway or a channel between, and here another, looks like a causeway here separated by maybe 1.5 feet of space there. Probably the same thing was there, so this could well have been a building, an entry building like the ones we've been in before, with the long walkway through 2 doors, and then going off to the sides right and left, other hallways. And from here we look down the hill. Looks to be an unofficial trail this way, so I think I'll explore that.